Hit the lights!
You've discovered the Half Watt Podcast. We want to educate and entertain by tapping into the most trusted source of new technology, the ones installing and innovating it. You, the tradespeople that build from the ground up. Join us as we talk with industry leaders, veteran contractors, and even some young blood. All right, that was the longest 30 seconds of me and Gage just staring at each other. Very close proximity in his oddly abandoned trailer in the back of his house.
I was like, it's a 2025. Fresh off the lot, brother. It took a lot of work to get it to look like this.
Do you know how hard I had to abandon this thing?
Yeah, how hard it is to shove 20 years into 2 months. I missed Thanksgiving.
I had to go get milk so much.
I had to pick up smoking. Anyways, take one in, well, not take one. This episode's gonna get posted, but
yeah,
recording one in my trailer, which hopefully, if it sounds good, will be a nice little recording trailer, which sounds a lot fancier.
I think people at this point probably listen to our show to listen to the adventures of where we record. Because if you think about the last 6 months,
right,
and maybe more than 6 months, because like it was back in April that I closed down the studio, and then since then it's been like, okay, where are we going? Where are we going? Where are we going? We landed at Clackamas for a bit.
Right.
Landed at a different part of Clackamas for a little bit.
Right.
Got kicked out of both places in Clackamas for different reasons. Nothing that we did. Just
right. Just
bureaucracy.
Logistics. Laws.
And then
that we didn't know about.
And then all kinds of crazy different places. You've had to try and do some work in your house. And now and we went to a bookstore at one point to record at a bookstore. And now we're here in a trailer. So I think that's the story of our podcast at this point.
International Brotherhood of Traveling Recorders.
Yeah. We're going to get there. I think it will be a good story for the future when we've gotten enough people to listen to the show. We have money and we can build our own facility.
Right.
And we'll just park this trailer in the facility and still record in that trailer.
That would actually be pretty sweet.
It would be cool.
Get it out of my yard.
Yeah, it'd be awesome. Like we go get our own trailer and mod it out to be our half watt trailer.
Yeah, that too.
We can take this show on the road, literally.
Yeah. We're coming to you. A lot of gas.
Yeah. So Gage, it's been a bit.
Yeah, it has been. I guess sorry everybody for not putting out as many episodes, just with the again, the trying to find a place to record, and then Mike had a scheduled break, so he's been off for a bit, and then Tyler just had his second kid
out of nowhere. That one just came out of nowhere, man. I mean, what the hell?
What is 9 months?
My wife mentioned something to me 9 months ago, and I was like, okay, whatever.
I just Homer Simpsoned it.
All of a sudden we're in a hospital.
Don't.
Yeah, no, we had our second kid. We had a daughter, and she is great. She's quiet and respectful.
Wow.
She only speaks when spoken to.
Oh, that's good.
Nothing like my toddler.
Oh, yeah.
So it's mostly just me trying to catch up on sleep, like every day. It's a catch-up game. Yeah.
So, you're not even working right now. You're on paternity leave.
Family bonding leave, I think is what they call it now.
In Oregon?
Just in general.
Oh.
I think that's what they want to call it.
Do they change the name every 4 years like everything else? For no reason.
Yeah.
Like, didn't need to get changed, but they...
Yeah. It used to just be, leave. And then it got turned into maternity leave. And then dads felt left out. So then it got paternity leave. And then it became there was an official government name for it, like Family Leave Act or something like that.
Well, I feel like if they don't change the name of everything constantly, then it doesn't look like they're doing anything, because they're not. They're not doing anything. But they're like, if we just keep on doing busy work,
right,
we can keep wasting taxpayer dollars and all keep getting a paycheck.
Yeah. 100. You and I have worked in enough government facilities doing their electronics and shit,
right,
that we know what they're actually doing.
Oh, you just have time to just sit here? Oh yeah, I got nothing going on. None of us have it.
None of us are doing anything. This is the capital, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, our budget's only going up 5% next year. Like, oh my God.
I know you work at hospitals. Do you do a lot of government work?
No. We do have one. What would that be called? Like a public
facility?
Yeah, public hospital.
Oh, public. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Or like government owned.
Yeah.
Kind of like universities, right? There's like public and then private.
Yeah.
So I work for a huge private chain.
Right.
So no, I don't do a ton of government work with them being my main client. And then my other main clients are sportswear. So I don't do a lot of government. I do sometimes though.
Yeah, I mean every once in a while you gotta.
I won't say which one though, because of the first 5 minutes of talking about it. Like, it'd be bad if I named.
Never go to this city. I do a lot of government facilities.
Oh really?
Yeah, I think I've probably hit the public public works building in majority of the cities in our area.
Okay.
And so I'm constantly talking to people about stuff, about what they're doing, and, have some mild interest to kind of cut the awkwardness of, hey, I'm going to hang out on this ladder in your office while you're working.
Right. Yeah.
So it looks like you're doing a CPA evaluation. How's that going? Like, no.
Man, you just leave the socials out just like that, huh?
No. I've
hang out over their shoulder. What are you doing here? What's your go-to if you have to go into somebody's office?
Obviously, knock and introduce myself. Hey there, I'm Tyler. I'm with Everon. I'm working on the fire alarm system. I'm not planning on setting it off today.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's the number one thing I say, because they're always concerned. Are you going to set it off? Are you setting it off? It's like,
yes, my job is to ruin your day.
I'm not planning on setting it off today.
Right.
And it just depends on what I'm doing, right? Because we have a ton of different things we could be doing. If I'm just swapping out a smoke head,
yeah,
I'm like, hey, can I swap this out real fast? If I'm cutting tile or sealing so I can run wire, then I'm like, hey, when would it be best for me to do this? I got to lay out some plastic.
Mm-hmm. There's
still going to be dust everywhere.
Right.
I don't want to get in your way. So it's just kind of, and I'll take a section. If like there was a place I did where there was like 6 or 7 offices right next to each other, and then there was an open office area, and I just had to go into each one, introduce myself, have like a 5-minute conversation with each one, explain what we're doing, and find out that I wouldn't be able to work in there for like another day, because the next day nobody was going to be in the office, because it was like right towards the end of COVID, and so they were only doing office days once a week. So I just hit them on the worst day I could.
Oh,
so I was like, all right, well, I'll just come back tomorrow.
Right.
I'll find something else to do in the rest of the building
for sure.
So it's usually just introduce myself and then figure out when I can work.
I actually get the don't set off the fire alarm quite a bit.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, it's an output to my system, not an input.
Yeah.
I literally can't set it off.
Yeah.
So don't you worry. The worst thing I can do is accidentally maybe break this relay. And then what would that come up as?
A trouble.
A trouble. Yeah. I was going to say. At
worst, it would be a supervisory if for some reason they set that for the supervision, but nobody would do that.
That's, yeah.
It would be a supervisory, or it would be a trouble. what was I going to say? Oh, I just got into it with someone from our own company. At monitoring, not ours actually. It's a third party that does our monitoring, and they saw on our list that I had a relay module for the access control to shut it down, right, when there's a fire,
right.
And it came through as a trouble when I was doing some tests, but it didn't come through when I tested the system because it's an output, right? Like I don't do anything to that. It does its thing. When an alarm happens, it activates. That's it.
Goes to an input on our side,
right,
which turns on that output, and then everything happens.
Yes. So there's nothing I do for this module to send to monitoring, except
that would be really bad if you have to do that.
Exactly. Except send to trouble, which I did because like through stuff it happens.
Right.
So we're going through this whole thing, and they're like, all right, yeah, we see all your points. I'm like, great. And they're like, except for this one. And I don't even remember what number. I'm making one up, like M22, right? They're like, M22 came in as a trouble, not as an alarm. It's like, M22? The hell are you talking about? And I have to go through like my list, and I'm like, M22? I don't have that on. And then I like look up at my panel, and I see I've got it literally installed next to my panel. And your guys' wires run to it.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's just the output for the access control. And they're like, okay, well, we have to see that go into alarm. And I was like, no, you don't.
Yeah.
It's not an alarm state input. And they're like, well, but it's on the system. It's a programmed module. I was like, yes, a relay module. It activates when there's an alarm. Like, great. So set it off. And we'll see it come in. I'm like, you're actively not listening to me at this point.
what you're not doing is understanding what I'm saying.
So yeah, I had to explain that for like 10 full minutes. Like there's a difference on the SLC between an input and an output. This is an output. I'm not sending anything other than a trouble. And they're like, well, you have to deprogram. I was like, okay, I've just removed it from programming. They're like, you did? I was like, yep. It's gone. Just did it while I was talking to you. Yeah.
It just baffles. It's like output.
Yeah. Is there a lot of do you guys deal with a lot of issues at all when we have to connect to your stuff?
It's so weird. In some systems, and it's usually always the same exact relay, like on a floor. Like they'll do fire alarms, test fire alarms, and then just weird. In some buildings, it's always one relay to one panel. Won't reset when they reset the system, so then I'll get called out. And then I'll be like, hey, the fire alarm input's still active. Did you guys do a test? And they'll be like, oh, yeah, this morning, or yeah, yesterday. And I'll be like, all right, we'll just reset this relay. And then they'll either reset it or be like, oh, I don't know how to do that. So the fire guy will have to come back. The fire company will have to come out and reset that relay. So ours will go to normal.
Do you ever feel like you're missing out not knowing as much about fire?
Sometimes.
Like I had a job where they had a mag lock that needed to get shut off in the event of a fire. So I went, this was like we had done the whole job, and then it was an afterthought. They were like, the marshal or somebody was like, you need to have this turn off.
Yeah, for sure.
So I went in, and they're freaking out. They're like, oh, we gotta add this. And I'm like, honestly, it's fine. They're like 5 feet from that door lock, there's a smoke detector. So I can just go up into the ceiling, put a relay, connect it to the smoke detector, and it's on the same loop. It's fine. And they're like, great. So you can have it connected to the mag lock. And I was like, I can't.
Right.
Like, I can get you a relay, and then we need to have another guy come in and connect the relay to the mag lock. And they're like, what, really? I'm like, and I felt kind of bad because, like,
yeah,
I feel like we should be able to do everything.
But the hard, within reason.
Yeah.
Within reason. The hard part is like, and I was explaining this to somebody the other day. Like, I am so deep into like access control, experience, knowledge, how things work, to where when even some people that don't do access control or do will go look at something and they'll be like, oh man, I don't know what this is, but I've seen it, like all a million small things to know exactly what they are. And that's where I'm like, how could I ever do that for fire unless I stop what I'm doing and then just go only fire for like another 8 years?
I don't even know if 8 years would be required for fire. I mean,
well, I don't know.
I think with your foundation of understanding, you already have a leg up if you go into fire. It would be, most of the work would be unlearning a lot of stuff in access to make room for fire, right? So
that's another thing, right?
Yeah, and not like get rid of dump the information from your brain, you're never touching access again. It's more wrapping your head around why fire does certain things the way that they do it. And because you have a foundation, you go, okay, like if you're an apprentice, you're green to everything. You're trying to understand what the hell does a relay even do?
Yeah.
You know,
forms. Yeah.
if I went to you and I said, hey, I need you to attach a relay to a smoke detector on the SLC, which part of that do you get lost at?
The beginning.
The relay?
No. Oh, no. What's an SLC?
Yeah. So
I'm just kidding. I know what an SLC is, but I mean, I could, if you gave me enough time, I mean, I wouldn't need a ridiculous amount of time, but I could figure it out. So I guess what I'm saying is, eventually I will learn these things, but I'm just like, I don't think I'll ever be able to like run a fire job.
Yeah. I mean, and that's, I don't know if I don't know if I agree with that. Like, not that obviously you are the way you are, but like, should we be pushing ourselves to be masters of everything? Understanding everything in our trade. Because there's guys I worked with at my first company that I still look up to as like, they ran fire, they ran access, they ran cameras, they ran data all at once for multi-family housing.
Yeah.
Like that's
so I guess
crazy.
That's I guess where I am and how my career has gone, the company I've worked for, I don't see it really happening. Yeah. But if I worked for one of those companies where you're doing all of them, your entire 4-year apprenticeship, so jack of all trades, master at none. Yeah. But then you can master them after. You get that
specialize
or whatever. I just don't have that foundation. But you should always be trying to learn new things. Right now, I'm learning Berg. I'm getting into DMP and Bosch. Mm-hmm. And I did ask to do some fire training. They said we have plenty enough fire guys to do service calls and not enough Berg guys. So we need you to.
That's a conversation we can have off mic.
Yeah. So we need you to learn Berg first and get familiar with that. And once you kind of feel comfortable with that, then we're going to add fire. So I'm going to get there eventually.
I do agree with that in the sense that that's almost a water birthing process.
Right.
Where like, you come from access in the womb of access. Berg is not access, but it's close enough,
right?
That like you're going to understand a lot of what you're doing, right? You're coming out into the tub, and then fire. Like
Berg is your twin.
Berg is the hot tub that you get born into. But
Yeah,
like,
dude.
yeah, I know. But like, yeah, you basically, it is the next step. Going from access to fire it's a little bit more trying to figure out a foreign language compared to, in my opinion, I can be wrong about this, but to me, access and Berg are a lot more related than access and fire.
Oh, for sure.
And so, but then like working with Bosch and DMP, I've installed Bosch fire systems, right? And so like you having the understanding of, oh, Bosch works like this. Then when we go, hey, can you go install this fire Bosch? You might not know everything. You might still need to call me or somebody else. But when we say, yeah, you'll need to do this and this and this, you'll be like, oh, okay, I understand what you're saying. I need these modules to add on to this right. stuff. And so it's a much easier process, I think, in the way that they're having you go.
Oh, yeah. I mean, getting sent to a Berg call, never touching Berg. They were like, do you think you can do it? And I was like, if it's a device, I can troubleshoot probably any device. If I know what it does,
yeah,
I have enough relay logic to where I'll be like, hey, I'll be able to just say whether something's working or not working, and where it's coming from. But if it's not cable and it's not the device and it's something going on with like the panel or programming, that I'm gonna have to stop. And
it's the programming.
It's
that programming is where you get lost and real fast.
Yeah, and the keypads. I don't know all these codes and everything. So it's really learning that stuff, because the devices, it's just like, I mean, we use a lot of the same devices in access control, to a lesser extent, but it's learning all the panel stuff. So honestly, I feel like once I kind of have Berg panels down, that'll make it an easy jump to fire, because the panels look very similar
in certain ways. Yeah, I mean, like you can run fire with DMP, you can run fire with Bosch. Those are nothing like a Silent Night panel,
right?
Like Potter panels are completely different. Potter. Like it's so there is going to be a huge jump, but again, the fundamentals are there. You have inputs, you have outputs, you have relays that are built into the board.
I might not be a smart man, but I know what a relay is.
So yeah, I think that it is a matter of taking the time. If you can have the foundation in one thing, and it seems like, I mean, depending on what company you're with, some companies push you and say from day one, hey, you're going to learn all these things all at once.
Right.
To me, that's a little overwhelming. I don't know if I could have kept up with that at my first company.
Yeah.
When I got brought over to the company we're at now, and they were like, hey, you're going to become a fire guy, I was like, oh, now I can focus. Now I don't have to stress about more than just this. And maybe I'm just the dum-dum at the table.
Right.
And that's where I need to live. That's fine with me, because I still get paid money to do my job, and I still get a lot of pride out of it. But eventually, I feel like once I've proven, hey, I can be a fire guy, I can do the fire stuff, I really want to get into access.
Right.
I want to be a guy that you can call if you have issues with anything. And even just for my own vanity, I want to be able to say I did that.
Well, and that's another cool thing too, with the new like software house and Ultronics. I always forget what they're called. They're not called like cans anymore. They're
enclosures.
Well, or enclosures. They're actually like called something. It's the black ones that come like fully built out. They have like a special name that I can't remember, and someone is screaming in their truck the name of it. But they're so easy to
go to
read.
Our Instagram and just comment on the last post with the name of whatever this is, all caps.
Yeah, all caps. Don't let me have it. But what was I going? Oh, they're very clearly defined FIA on every single one of them. If the a customer has one of these newer enclosures, can't believe I can't remember the name of it, but and they're like, hey, we need this to drop on fire. I mean, it's so easy now to where you just, mount your relay, have it come into the fire alarm input, and then there'll be a red jumper on the lock output for that door. You just move it over one spot, which enables it. So then when your relay goes off and it trips, that'll just cut out.
Yeah. Yep.
So much easier than it used to be.
Oh, dude, 100%. Yeah, I mean, HVAC is getting easier to integrate with. As long as we don't do it. Generally, we still go like, you guys are the HVAC guys. Here's your wire.
Yeah.
But they have been able to tell me, like, these are the points where you're going to land at. I learned I had to figure out big ass fans, and that's an actual name. That's not just me calling these fans big ass.
Baffs, right?
Baffs, yeah. Yeah, that is what's written on the side of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. At a Costco, there was 3 of them.
Wow.
And I mean, the big ass.
I think I've seen them.
Yeah, they're huge.
You look up, I think you can. There's usually one going. Yeah, that you can see.
We have to turn them off
during a fire, so it doesn't,
because the sprinklers it'll disrupt the sprinklers and potentially cause electric. The water will get in,
right,
and, overload it. So we had to turn them off, or at least we're supposed to. And there was a Costco where it wasn't doing that, and so I had to go figure that out. And basically what I did is I ran all my wire over, and I went and found on these boards, like, there is a specific fire alarm jumper, and I wired. So in the fire world, everything is normally open.
Right.
Because you want to have a resistor jumping between the two so you can monitor it. That was like week 1 for me and my journeyman back when I was an apprentice. He's like, always normally open. Right. Of course, these were normally closed. So I wired them wrong, and I kept trying to set them off. And I'm like, what is happening? How come I can't even turn these things back on? I broke these big ass fans.
Oh, I broke these big ass fans.
Right. And then I had to go and do some more research, and I saw that no, these things are jumpered, normally closed, normally.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to wire them normally closed, so that basically my relay just is a closure, and then it pops open and it shuts them down. That was one of the first time, and it's super simple. Now that I explain it, again, I'm probably the dumb. Everybody else is like, yeah, obviously, Tyler. But like, for me, that was one of the first times as a journeyman, I was like, I'm integrating with a different system I've never touched before. But I was, it was so much easier to work with nowadays, because they are making technology easier for dum-dums like me to walk in and go, FA, that's fire. I can touch that.
Isn't it the same with us though? The fire relay going into the access control panel, isn't that normally closed also?
Yeah, normally. So as far as I know, normally when we're integrating with other people, it usually ends up being a normally closed system.
Right, which makes sense, because it's the same reason why we wire all of our stuff that's monitoring something important, like door contacts or panic buttons. You want them to be normally closed, because if it fails and it's normally open, you won't know until you push that button to get the panic alarm to go, and nothing happens. But if it's normally closed and the button stops working,
if the wire gets cut,
something,
there's a trouble on the system.
Then it'll go off, and you can know.
It's interesting to me though that you guys don't utilize resistors for normally open supervision.
It depends on the system. So like Software House, that's all resistor packs.
I remember you and I doing the one job during my apprenticeship. What was that? That was what was the company that we were utilizing?
I think that was Linnell. Yeah.
That was like all resistor packs, I feel like.
Yeah, I think that was a heavily monitored system.
I had to get on to one of our journeymen as an apprentice, because he's like, I don't know if I do this normally open or normally closed on a door contact. And I'm like, normally open. It's got a resistor, you dumbass.
Also, Wait. No, on a door contact, it's normally closed.
With a resistor?
Yeah.
Well, then there's a door out there that's wired incorrectly.
I probably fixed it. Well, how do you even I don't think there's a possibility of
in series.
Because they're resistor packs. You just do both blacks to this one and then both blacks to the door contact and both blues to the 2 conductor wire coming in. And then the input's just 2 ports. Normally open and normally closed is chosen through programming.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah, for me, I think of it as you have 2 wires.
Unless we had the door contacts with
I felt like
wires.
I felt like it was right calling him out and saying it was, but I was an apprentice.
He shouldn't have asked.
He should
have known.
He should have known. But like
I handed you know how to wire it without the resistor.
Yeah.
When I hand you the resistor, it's the same.
It's the opposite without the resistor as it is with the resistor. That at least that's how it is in my brain, right? So if you give
you guys use different resistors. Ours
really?
are 4 conductors.
4 conductor resistors?
Yeah, because they're 1K, 2K. So in a normal state, it's I see. It's one resistance.
We're only looking for open or close, basically.
Yeah, then if it's open, you get a different resistance because then it never makes it to the contact, so it loops inside the resistor.
Yeah, I understand. And now I'm remembering this.
Yeah, so there is no,
because you were saying the resistor pack. And I'm like, I don't. Why do you keep saying pack? It's a resistor.
Yeah.
When I put
a whole pack of resistors on that door contact?
Dude, that's too many resistors.
Brother, that's so many. That's so much resistance.
What is this? The freaking Star Wars resistance?
Yeah, I was just getting ready to say, "Viva!" just me with 2 packs of resistors. Viva la resistance.
That's good. That's a T-shirt idea right there. But no, like
podcast.
When I do
Viva la resistance.
When I do a water flow and I want to monitor it with a resistor, then I run a 2 conductor out to that water flow. Right. And then I put from our monitor module, I run it over, and then I just have a normally open, normally closed Form C relay. I land it on normally open, and I jump it between the normally open and the common with the resistor.
Right.
So if the resistor's not there, it's an open circuit. Right. And they're like, we're broken. Something's broken here.
Right.
And when that relay changes states, it closes, getting rid of the resistance. Right. And that's when we go, that's an alarm.
Right.
That's it. There's no other complication in there. So if somebody cuts our wire, it's an open state. So we have a trouble.
Right.
That's why I got confused for a second. I forgot that you guys have these like 1K, 2K packs that you do with door contacts and stuff like that.
Right. Also, I think
needlessly complicated.
Right. And I know a lot of people have brought up why don't you guys use resistors? And like I said, we do, depending on the system and whatnot.
Right.
But also in the places where we're not using resistors, they're heavily monitored access control systems, for one. 2,
what do you mean
resistors
by that? Heavily monitored?
Like there is actively like 3, maybe more people watching every single alarm and alert and everything.
Okay.
So, and resistor packs go bad all the time.
Yeah.
So if you have like 2,000 or plus devices, with resistors on them, just constantly, one going bad here, one going bad over there, one going just constantly.
Yeah.
That would be a nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
Or if the device goes bad, they respond with armed security to the location. Okay, it's a false alarm. Something's wrong with this. We'll call Gage, and he'll come figure out what the problem is.
So you utilize a main frame, basically, like your main board, and then that goes out to separate locations that then go to like doors, right? So like you've got a big board,
motherboard,
and then out in the field you have booster boards or whatever you guys call them, or does everything go out and come back in?
Only in really old systems. Nowadays, everything is just like right there. You got your motherboard, and then you have all the door controllers.
So let's pretend you have a 4-story building.
Okay.
Right, and each floor has 10 doors, and 2 hallways that need motions, right? That are like Rexes, I should say, because you guys don't do motions as much.
Yeah, we do.
Do you for access?
All the time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if they want a motion, then we'll wire it to one of our inputs. Okay. Rexes on the doors, and then motions out in the field. So down on the first floor, second floor, wherever, you guys decide to put in your motherboard, your main panel. Are all, I said 10 doors per floor, 4 floors, are all 40 doors coming to that panel? Is the wire coming out of that panel and hitting all 40 doors? How does that? Because in my head, I think SLC one loop, unless it's going to a booster panel. How we would probably have that is probably on the first floor, and like the third or fourth floor will be 2 separate motherboards, and probably 2220s if it's Linnell. So that's 2 doors right on the motherboard, and then what is that? 18 more doors, so 9 1320s in that can with that motherboard. And the first floor one will do the first and second floor doors with all those boards coming from there. Each door is getting its own 4 cables that go back to a door controller. And then same thing with the third or fourth floor. That one will handle those 2 floors.
Gotcha. So yeah, you guys are utilizing booster panels in a sense. I mean, I don't know what you call them. I don't know what the term is.
Downstream boards, because there's no panel. I think the biggest panels they make would be like an AMAG 8 DBC, that's 8 doors, or a software house panel that's also 8 doors, but they're not making panels that have more than that, you know? And then I think it's the same thing with AMAG and software house. They can handle up to 16 doors. A Linnell panel, I think 2220 can do 32 doors, and a 3300 can do like 64 doors.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I remember the Linnell panels we worked on. We had quadrants, and they were being pushed with those doors. Like we had a couple of extensions on those, didn't we? On a couple of the quadrants.
Yeah, I mean, if it's too far away, you know, you can put a door controller out in the field, above the drop tile or something. I think is what you were kind of getting at.
No, because remember what I'm getting at. Remember, there was in the building that we
what are you getting at?
What I'm getting at here is, like, you remember there was 4 sections to this building.
Yeah.
And we worked in one while they were doing construction in the other.
Right.
And so there, in each of those quadrants, on like the second floor, I want to say, of each of those quadrants, there was a panel room. And there was a big can in each of those quadrants where all the doors for that quadrant would go to.
Yeah, and if I'm remembering correctly, those all had their own motherboards that controlled that section.
So those were their own systems. In the same building, they had separate access control systems.
Well, they, under programming and in the system, they would just show up as 4 panels.
Yeah.
And then, you click the little down arrow, and then it'd show you every single door from every board that goes to that motherboard.
Okay.
So it's one system, but 4 different like actual motherboards. And the reason to do that, even if distance isn't an issue, like you don't have to worry about any door being too far away. Like the 40 doors you were just saying.
Yeah.
A Linnell 3300 could handle every single door in that entire building. So you could put that on the second or third floor if there's an IDF closet or just a place to put it. And it could handle every door in there. But a lot of our clients are like, so that thing goes bad.
And all the doors.
We have no 40 doors.
Yeah.
That is correct, sir. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or I can pay a couple $1,000s more on this already
extremely
expensive system. Yeah. And if one motherboard goes bad, it's half the building or whatever, or in that building's case, like a fourth of the building.
Right.
So,
okay. Yeah. And obviously there's a disconnect just because I haven't seen it as much. Right. So I can't visualize it as well as you're describing it. But like for fire, we have our main panel.
Right.
And then we do, like I've worked in 6-story buildings where you'd have a booster panel on the 3rd floor and 5th floor. Right. And so the main panel handles floor 1 and 2. Booster panel 1 handles 3 and 4. Booster panel 2 handles 5 and 6. And what you're really pulling power for is the notification, because that's what draws the most power when there's an alarm. And then you can have some booster panels that help boost initiation stuff, like smoke detectors and stuff. But most of the time, it's one circuit,
right,
for an SLC, and that just goes out into the field and it's spider webs. Usually, you try to keep it from spider webbing too much, but it's I guarantee if you walk into a building that's older than 20 years, you're basically walking into a spider web of SLC. People just cross running wire because it's easier to tap into it in different places.
My cortisol levels just spiked.
It's bad. But yeah, and I guess we could get away with it for the most part because we're not going to have as many devices as you are.
Right. And it definitely depends on the infrastructure too.
That's true.
Because sometimes there's no way we're getting 30 doors down to the first floor.
Yeah.
That's, 30 times 4 is 120.
Yes.
So 120 cables, not even wires.
Yeah.
Cables
that
have 2 to 6 wires inside of them. So they're not called booster panels, but if we're like, hey, we don't want to break floors, so we'll run the comms wire, just a 2 conductor from the first floor up to the second floor panel room. There won't be a motherboard or something in there, but it'll go up to the next board, and then data will daisy chain through all those. So
you
boards.
Can basically break your motherboard out and put parts of it in different locations in a building. Is that what you're saying?
So not necessarily. So the best way to describe it is, so the door controllers, which just have doors on them, they're not motherboards, and then the panels, motherboards. Every single decision and smarts that happens in that entire any access control system is being made by that motherboard.
Right. So
if you badge a card reader, it goes to its door controller. It's just a relay. It just sends that information back to the motherboard. The motherboard scans it, says, hey, yeah, they're good to go. Sends that information back with
to the control board, basically.
To the door controller with something saying, hey, unlock relay 1.
Yeah.
And then that's how it works. So every badge read that's going on is just going through the motherboard.
Right.
So you're not necessarily breaking it up necessarily as much as it is. It doesn't matter whether the door controllers are in that panel with it or on another floor, as long as the communication wire.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah,
because that's essentially what we have with a smart booster panel. So like me and Doug just did a job where we had our main board in the basement, kind of the facilities service bay area. And then up on the 3rd floor, we had 4 booster panels. And we ran one wire from the main board up to those we'll say booster panel 1, right? And that's called it was called a P-Link because it was a Potter panel. Other companies call it different things. S-Bus is a really well-known term.
Right. That I know that term.
Yeah. And I did the job of installing basically all 4 of these booster panels right next to each other, which I took pictures of it because I was so freaking proud of it. And then I was told by facilities I had to move it over by 6 inches.
Oh, no.
And I was like, no, no, we're not doing that. But that made it easier because then I just took the P-Link from the first one and ran it to the second one, like 6 inches.
Right.
And then down to 3 and then down to 4. And I mean, they're all located there because it was less tall and more of a wide.
Right.
And so you're essentially speaking my language when you say, the communication bus going from your motherboard out to the different controller boards and card controllers and stuff like that. Totally understand that. That makes sense to me.
Perfect.
So I'm an access guy now.
Hey, welcome to the team, buddy.
Yes, I knew I could do it in one 30-minute podcast.
It's not easy being being this good of a teacher. Man, I had such a funny joke, but you were rolling earlier.
Oh yeah,
and I completely lost it. But
oh no. Are you gonna sit here and try to remember?
No,
okay.
no, because I've done that in the past, and I am 0 for 3 on remembering. So
yeah. I'm trying to look up right now some Reddit stuff. I saved stuff 2 months ago. So I apologize to our listeners because I'm trying to be more active on Reddit. But then I had this thing called a child and I already wasn't good at Reddit. So I couldn't build that skill up while being sleep deprived. But I did save some stuff a couple months ago and I wanted to bring it up and see what you thought.
You're apologizing to like 1 in every 200 people.
Yeah,
maybe.
I know.
Maybe.
Somebody asked for access control. This is on r/access control.
Oh.
They asked training ideas. Good day, gentle folks. I'm looking for new higher training ideas for access control and surveillance installs. Opening ports on a router or remote access. Configuring the NVR, configuring the access control, maybe troubleshooting wire issues. Does anyone have a training setup that has been successful? Possibly some sort of training box, preferably portable. And I did want to bring that up to you because you trained me a lot. You know, when I was your apprentice for 4 months, I learned a lot from you. Is there stuff now that you're a little bit more seasoned that you would have done differently, or that you could answer this guy and give some ideas for a company trying to train access control guys?
I don't think I can say that I would have done any of it any differently. We don't do a lot of programming out in the field. Like, we have application engineers for pretty much everything he just said, except for obviously like the testing wire and stuff.
Right.
Like, truly our division, you have the low volt electricians and then the programmers, and there's not a ton of overlap there.
Yeah.
Like, I'll do tiny bits of programming here or there, or certain access control systems like S2. I can program an entire S2 system after I've installed it and done everything. So no, I wouldn't have done anything different because I don't think there was really anything different to do. But
as far as
office,
what you trained me on?
Yeah.
Okay.
But our office has and we've built a couple things out. If you just get a small piece of plywood and some sort of like small power supply that you can hook up to something, and a small 2-door board, that's extremely portable. Mm-hmm. You can move that around. We have, and have like some sort of login or whatever to have people just go through, comb through programming, and fiddle with the system, learn new things. It'd be kind of hard to troubleshoot wire in a mobile setting. You're like, yep, this 6 inches passes.
Yeah.
I knew it was good.
Yeah. I mean, there's ways, this goes pretty quickly back to the whole idea you and I had talked about, that you and Doug talked about on an episode of doing the escape room. You could do it, but it would be a bigger deal than just, we're going to test some wire. Like, you'd need to set up a whole setup.
Yeah. Like, you'd have to like run cable out to a door at your facility.
Something.
With, you have your real door contact, and then you have your fake door contact, and then you have
having just, if you take a couple of the door contacts and put them in a piece of wood or something and run wire to them, you can see them activate, right? You can see a strike move when you apply or take away power.
Mm-hmm.
So you could create a trouble in that process and run it. Like, if you have a table this size where you and I, this is what, 4x4, not even 3x3, you could have a whole setup of door contacts here, and then switches and things that I could sit here and play with the switches and do different things to them. I know what I'm messing up,
right?
But you, as the trainee, have to like look around and figure out.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I might be overthinking it, but what's kind of going through my head is a risk reward situation.
Yeah.
Obviously there's not really a lot of risk, but the risk is how much time and effort are you going to put into something, and how much benefit, how much are they going to actually learn from that?
Yeah. Because
pretty much anybody with a good base level of access control, all of that would be completely pointless.
Yeah. And if you're in the field doing it, you're going to figure it out. If you have a good journeyman, you're going to figure it out in the field even better.
Yeah. So honestly, I've always thought the best way to learn a system, if obviously there's the head end with all the panels, and then there's out in the field. If you're trying to learn all that out in the field stuff, the best thing for you to do is shadow whatever service tech is going out on calls in that whatever fire access berg field that you want to learn in.
Yeah,
that's gonna be the best thing.
Yeah.
And they can show you. When I have people on me, pause. When I have people on my work orders with me, there's plenty of things, even if I'm working on something super complicated and it's just like, dude, you're not going to grasp this.
Yeah.
So I will just tell you the small things so that, you can learn that. And then once you have that down, then you'll probably just wake up one day and be like, that made sense. So, I mean, yeah, just a good trainer and service calls.
Yeah. Someone here posted saying the first thing I teach is relay logic. It's the hardest to learn. The second I teach is networking. It's the hardest for tradesmen to understand.
That's fair.
Once they understand networking, they have an easier time with programming. And then a bunch of people gave him a bunch of shit for saying all tradespeople are bad at networking. So that's an interesting conversation. And then somebody else.
It's a fair statement, though. It's like, I'm not I've gotten it down now.
Yeah, because you have to deal with it as much as you do.
Like, it's because in the beginning, us trying to see all the networking stuff and how it works is the exact same thing as us walking in and the customer seeing what we do.
Yeah.
They have no idea.
Right.
The vastness, which is our jobs.
Yeah.
And it kind of goes back to when they were like, oh, you can't just do that. It's like, if you knew how much I had to know to just do this, you'd understand. So, yeah. And I do feel bad when I'm like, I'm going to break it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'll just find a way to mess it up.
Like, if you knew how much I knew and had to know,
You'd know how much I know.
You know that it'd be crazy if I could do all of this.
Yeah. This one tickled me a little bit based off of our history. Teach them the difference between series and parallel circuits. Don't want to wire up a double door contact in parallel. They will never get granted entry or door forced unless you dot both at the same time. How an input is programmed. No, it needs to be parallel. When it's normally closed, it needs to be series. So that was
very important. Don't wire double overhead strikes in parallel.
Yeah.
They will fight each other for the amperage.
Yeah.
I know it doesn't make sense. Let it hit one, and then whatever's left, go to the other. It'll work every time. But if you parallel them and they split the voltage is not a thing. But if they both get the inrush at the same time, it's not gonna work.
Yeah.
Or maybe it will if it doesn't need a lot of inrush, but
yeah. So yeah, that was our jump into to Reddit for today. I'm gonna try and have more in the future so that we can interact with people on Reddit and get called out for the stupid things we say. That'll be fun.
Yeah.
Reddit's known for its grace and mercy. They're usually pretty chill about things when people get stuff wrong.
Yeah, it's like a neckbeard convention. If actually was an app, it would be Reddit.
Yeah, 100%. Actually, you would want to use a double throw seagull.
This guy has no idea what he's talking about. I did access control for 2 years out of high school. I never got my license, but he's an idiot.
I did an apprenticeship at Northwestern Public State Penitentiary.
It was ironically also called Running Start.
All right.
I'm so sorry if any of you guys have a lisp. Just know we're not making fun of the lisp.
We're making fun of
the attitude behind the
attitude. If you have that attitude with that lisp, then we're making fun.
Then I'm not apologizing.
Yeah. I think that's gonna be our episode for today.
Sounds good.
As long as Gage keeps this place abandoned as much as he has, we can continue to record here.
Yeah, I just got to work on the creaking. Not enough creaking yet.
Yeah. The door needs to creak. The floor needs to creak.
I've been pushing dirt into it. I was like, how to get WD-40 out?
What is rust?
Yeah.
Where can I buy rust?
Where can I make rust?
But yeah, hopefully we can keep this up going into the new year, and we can have some other guests on the show soon. There's so many people from Milwaukee we still need to get on.
Yeah, no,
I really need to work on
Milwaukee was really excited, and same with me about getting the one key guy on.
Yeah.
So they're, I mean, all these guys are waiting for their.
We've just been trying to get our feet underneath us with me closing the studio so I could refocus on family and stuff. So.
We were gonna have a Code Buddy episode, but the co-owner had his baby a week before Tyler's.
1 week before mine. Yeah, it's crazy.
So that got postponed. That'll be getting recorded soon, and then we have a ton of.
I found out
people.
I reached out to Corey Hannas over at NFPA. Because I was like, hey, do you guys have a podcast? And he's like, yes, we do. You should go check it out. They've had a podcast.
It's new, right?
No, they've had a podcast for a really, really long time.
Wow.
So if you're interested in NFPA and all the stuff that they do, you should definitely go check out their show, because I'm going to reach out to them and try and get them like the host of that show on ours, at least.
I'll Michael Scott him. Explain it to me like I'm an 8-year-old. Okay. Now explain it to me like I'm a 4-year-old or 5-year-old, whatever he says.
Yeah. Make sure you go check out our Instagram. Gage is always posting.
Oh, NFPA. That was dumb. I thought you were talking about the fire one.
Okay.
My bad. Not the code.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's all right. I was going to let it
It's
go.
Sunday.
Okay.
It's a weekend.
I know code.
I've gotten 16 fantasy football notifications. So that just shows
that
where my brain is at on Sunday.
Yeah.
Oh, and all the vibrations.
But yeah, go check out our Instagram. Gage is always posting memes and stuff.
Sorry about the turkey smack. No one complained.
Yeah.
But I just second guessed myself, pulled it down. Did. What's really funny is one of our followers messaged me, reacted to the, hey, sorry about the turkey slap. I've been up for way too long. And she was like, the fact that you had to post that is so freaking funny. And I think she thought the turkey slap, the actual slap was funny.
Yeah, because it was.
Maybe it's what I said. This little number's for all of our plumbers. then smack the turkey's butt.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm sure they get a lot of calls the day after.
Maybe it was too much.
I think it was great.
Like, it's a national holiday.
Yeah, we know what's going on.
Tone it down for 1 second.
At Half Watt Pod on Instagram. And if you guys have any comments, thoughts, or feedback, feel free to email us at halfwattpod@gmail.com. We're always interested in reading your stories, experiences, and thoughts. So make sure you send us those, because we don't have any to read right now.
That's true. Yeah. Thanks for
Gage,
listening.
Any last thoughts?
What is... No, I'm just kidding. Just the immediate smirk on your face. Thanks for listening to the Half Watt Podcast. We always want to hear from you, and we encourage you to email us at halfwattpod@gmail.com with questions or even your own stories. Funny, crazy, or praiseworthy, we want to hear it all. You can follow us on Instagram at halfwattpod to stay up to date on our feed. And be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. And share us with a friend, the best way to help us grow. The Half Watt Podcast is a production of Now Hear This Studios.